Warning, this video is not a tutorial. All it is a video where I show you how I personally did something that I think is cool. Please note that the best practices of building a PC or building things in general are absolutely ignored due to lack of resources, necessary skills, and general care. Do not try this at home. The final product is simply a very visually pleasing proof of concept only. Viewer discretion is advised.
You have been warned.
How you doing? Welcome to TechHead 2000. I'm your host, Jack Halpin. And as you probably already know, I love computers, and I have a lot of them. Obviously, one of my favorites is my Hodgepodge Mac Mini, which is still going strong even after 13 years. I also have this HP Envy Windows 11 laptop, which I got relatively recently and I really love. I'm planning on doing a video about it soon. I also have really old computers, like my Radio Shack TRS-80 color computer, which is 45 years old this year. I also have this computer. And yes, this is the same computer from that video where I showed you how to build a PC for under $200 that people were not happy with. It's a very basic Windows 10 desktop PC that I primarily use just to print stuff or hop on a website, but this is the only computer that's out in the open for all to see in my house, and I got to thinking, what if it looked way cooler? So I hopped into SketchUp and designed a rough draft of a computer with a completely clear case made out of plexiglass. I also plan on adding in RGB LED lights. I hear those are all the rage these days. And when it's done, I should have a desktop PC that will leave my guests' jaws on the floor. So my friends, buckle up and lock in. It's time for Project CRYSTALBOX. All right, let's go over the materials that I'm gonna need for this. A 32 by 32 inch sheet of plexiglass, a box of small screws with nuts, 1-inch L-brackets, 4 metal hinges, small rectangular magnets, 4 rubber feet, parts for the front panel such as a breadboard, LEDs, and buttons, an RGB light strip, and the components of the PC. Depending on what you have already, the total cost of this list comes out to about $250.
Here we are at the Blue Home Depot.
Time to get our materials.
Unfortunately, this Lowe's is pretty slim on plexiglass. I wasn't able to find a whole 32 by 32 piece, but I'm gonna go ahead and get 2 18 by 24 pieces, as well as one smaller piece for certain parts of the case. And it's the right amount of plexiglass. I'm just gonna have to get more creative with how I cut it. These 1-inch L brackets will be perfect for holding it all together. Some simple hinges for the angled parts of it. Magnets for the side panel. Plenty of screws with nuts.
I also grabbed these rubber feet and this cheap measuring stick. The total at the Blue Home Depot came out to about $123. Alrighty, here we are in the TechHead 2000 workshop, and I reckon it's time to start cutting this acrylic. I'm going to be referencing my 3D model as I make these cuts to make sure that I get them all correct. So satisfying. This is some beautiful plexiglass. The trick to cutting plexiglass without any power tools is to use a scoring knife to basically cut a groove on both sides of the sheet. And once you have a deep enough groove, all you gotta do is just snap it. Last one. And just like that, we have our panels. Snapping those plexiglass sheets by hand was really fun, but the whole process of making the panels was very time consuming. If you try to rush through the process, well, stuff like this happens. Oh no!
Accidentally broke a piece of the back panel. When I was cutting it with the Dremel, I accidentally didn't cut a solid enough line down at the bottom of the I/O panel, or the I/O hole. But I'll find a way to reattach it. Maybe I'll use some glue or something. I think I'm just gonna have this be the only one on the back, because since the power supply is down here like this, I may as well just leave the back open for now to allow airflow.
After I had all of my panels done, I started connecting them together with the L-brackets.
Alright, I'm gonna go for having these two narrow rectangles of plexiglass on the back. these two screws of the power supply, and then this one's gonna be right here to hold that screw. I think I'm gonna, I may just end up not putting a screw in that one. I love these rubber feet. I'm glad I was able to find clear ones because they match the vibe really well.
Watching this thing take shape was very satisfying.
Starting to come together now, huh? Looking pretty good. All right, we're just about done. I have the screw standoffs for the motherboard in here. I have the 3 screw holes that are gonna hold the power supply in. I still have to make the front panel, this angled front panel part, and I have to figure out some way to add some holes to the front for airflow. Oh, and also holes there for airflow. Then my next step is installing the magnets so the side panel can stick on, and then we're basically gonna be golden.
I tried a couple of different types of adhesive, but none of them worked as well as good old-fashioned super glue. I got so much super glue on my hands that day that I'm surprised I didn't get cancer or something.
All right, little update. I super glued magnets into it. I know it's ugly, looks a little goofy, but it does work. Like I said earlier, some of the panels aren't aligned exactly how I wanted, but I still think that it looks pretty good. Magnets do keep the side panel on pretty well. Might add more later on to make it a little bit more sturdy.
For the front case fan, I kinda took a shortcut and just glued it in and then put plastic strips in front of it. Definitely not the safest thing in the world, but like I said, this video is not a tutorial.
All right, this is my on-the-fly solution for having a fan in front of the computer that won't, or at least probably maybe won't chop your fingers off. Just these plastic strips going across the front. You can still stick your hand in there, but it provides some protection. This computer might be considered dangerous. Don't try this at home. All right, a quick check-in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 working magnets. It was gonna be 7, but plans change. 6 working magnets hold the panel in quite well. They hold it in good enough that I can confidently grab the whole thing and like shake it and stuff, and it holds on. The fan is glued into the front. Yes, it is glued. I decided not to screw it because I'm starting to get a little impatient. We have these plastic bars on the front to protect people's fingers, kind of. The back has a IO spot, a spot for the power supply fan, and then this currently is going to remain open. I should probably find a way to put grates over that too, but we'll see. But yeah, rubber feet on the bottom. We did that pretty early on. Screws and brackets are all in. She is just about ready to have electronics put in. Oh yeah, also I need to make the front panel, which is going to be fun and easy compared to what I've had to go through so far. But basically it's just going to be a little plastic panel with a button to turn it on and an LED light to show that it's on. Oh no! I'm not surprised that it broke because I was stabbing a screwdriver into it. I think that I'm a little delirious. Shout out to this Radio Shack breadboard that I bought years and years and years ago. They probably don't even make these anymore, but I love Radio Shack. So as a way to show them a little bit of love, I'm gonna use one of their breadboards in the CRYSTALBOX.
When it came to building the circuit board for the front panel, it was definitely a breeze. Just a standard breadboard with some basic components on it. After that, I got some wires attached to them and started mounting it in the case.
Whew, okay, it is 1:11 a.m. and we are officially at a point where we have a theoretically completely functional computer case. We have our power and reset button, power light, hard drive activity light, fan, all of the connectors that need to go into the motherboard, spot in the back for I/O and power supply, magnetic side panel, which kind of works pretty well, to be honest. As I said already, you'll notice that a lot of the panels did not align up the way I wanted to, but I'm rolling with it because really it would have taken a really long time to get very precise cuts on this thing, and I more wanted to put together something to be a proof of concept. I still think that it's gonna look really good despite the fact that it isn't perfect, so time for the computer parts.
At last, I finally got to start putting actual PC components in this case. This honestly was probably the easiest part of the build because I've built my fair share of computers.
I'm making a ground wire that I'm gonna connect from one of the screws on the motherboard to one of the screws of the power supply. That may not be a good idea or something that will do what I think it'll do, but freaking we ball.
And last but not least, I got my LED light strips installed. This project took about 7 or 8 hours to complete in total. And after all that hard work, let's take a look at the final product.
And there she is, the CRYSTALBOX 2000. This came out looking exactly the way I was envisioning, and I love it. Instantly upgraded this entire room. It's one of the first things you see when you come in here now.
Guys, I think Project CRYSTALBOX was a success. If I were to do it over again, I would definitely try to make much more precise cuts with the plexiglass. Because as you can see, some of them unfortunately don't line up quite right. And also, even though I think the magnets were a clever idea, they were actually really hard to implement. So if I were to do it again, I would probably use some kind of hinge system or something. But all in all, I'd say I accomplished my goal. This thing looks way better than that old one. Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching. See you next time.